The invisible armor, opening hook. Have you ever looked at someone and wondered how they keep going? How they smile despite everything they've been through? Maybe that person is you. Maybe you're the one who's faced storms that would have broken others, yet here you are, still standing, still trying, still moving forward. There's something you need to know. If you've been through a lot in your life, real hardship, genuine pain, moments that tested every fiber of your being, you possess a very rare kind of strength. Not the kind that flexes in front of mirrors or boasts in conversations. This is different. This is deeper. Most people won't see it. They'll look at you and see someone ordinary. But what they don't realize is that you've been forged in fires they've never felt. You've developed something psychologists call adversity-based resilience, and it's far more valuable than you might think. Today, we're going to explore what makes this strength so rare, why you might not even recognize it in yourself, and how it's quietly shaping every aspect of your life. Because the truth is, your struggles haven't just damaged you, they've also built something inside you that most people will never possess. The science behind the struggle. Let's talk about what actually happens to your brain when you go through difficult experiences. When you face adversity, whether it's loss, trauma, poverty, illness, or any significant challenge, your brain doesn't just record it as a memory. It adapts. It changes its very structure. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity, and it's fascinating. When you navigate hardship, your brain creates new neural pathways. Think of it like this: if your brain is a forest, trauma forces you to find new paths through the trees. At first, these paths are difficult to walk. But the more you walk them, the clearer they become. Research from the American Psychological Association shows that people who faced moderate to high levels of adversity actually develop stronger coping mechanisms than those who faced very little. It's counterintuitive, isn't it? You'd think an easy life would make someone stronger, but psychology tells us otherwise. Here's what happens: each time you face a challenge and survive it, your brain learns. It catalogs the experience, remembers what worked, discards what didn't, and prepares itself for future difficulties. You're essentially training your psychological immune system, just like your body builds immunity to diseases it's encountered before. But there's more to this story. The strength you've developed isn't just about surviving, it's about how surviving changes the way you see everything. And that's what we need to explore next. The quiet competence no one sees. There's a moment that happens to people like you, and you might not even notice it. Someone around you will panic over something, a missed deadline, a relationship problem, an unexpected bill, and you'll feel almost calm. Not because you don't care, but because you've been through worse. Much worse. This is what psychologists call stress inoculation. You've been exposed to high-stress situations so many times that your baseline for panic is completely different from most people's. What sends others into a spiral barely registers as a crisis for you. Think about it: when you've survived real loss, a bad day at work feels manageable. When you've rebuilt yourself from nothing, financial setbacks feel temporary. When you've faced genuine fear, everyday anxieties become background noise. But here's what makes this truly rare: you don't perform your strength. You don't need to tell everyone how much you've been through. There's no performance, no dramatic declarations. You just quietly handle things. You show up. You solve problems. You keep moving. Other people might see this and think you're just good under pressure or naturally calm. They have no idea that what they're witnessing isn't natural at all, it's earned. It's the result of countless moments where you had no choice but to be strong, so you learned how. This quiet competence is one of your greatest assets, but it often goes unrecognized, even by you. Which brings us to a critical point about why you might not even realize how strong you actually are. Why you don't feel strong. Here's the paradox: the people who've been through the most are often the ones who feel the weakest. If you've faced significant hardship, there's a good chance you don't feel particularly strong right now. You might even feel fragile, broken, or barely holding it together. This happens for a specific reason. Psychologists call it the proximity effect. When you're close to your own struggles, living with them every day, you see all the cracks, all the moments you almost gave up, all the times you cried in private. You see your vulnerability in high definition. But here's what you can't see from the inside: you're still here. That's the strength. The fact that you survived what could have destroyed you, that is the rare quality we're talking about. Strength isn't the absence of struggle, it's continuing despite it. Think of it this way: a tree that's weathered storms doesn't feel proud of its bent branches and rough bark. It just exists, roots deep in the ground, still growing. But if that tree could see itself from the outside, it would understand that those very marks are proof of its resilience. You carry invisible scars that have made you more adaptable, more empathetic, more aware of life's complexities. Research in post-traumatic growth shows that people who've suffered often develop deeper relationships, greater appreciation for life, and a stronger sense of personal capability. But you're probably thinking, if I'm so strong, why do I still struggle? And that's exactly the question we need to address next. Strength doesn't mean you don't hurt. Let's clear up the biggest misconception about strength: being strong doesn't mean you don't feel pain. It doesn't mean you've gotten over it, or that you're unaffected by what happened to you. That's not strength, that's numbness, and there's a difference. Real strength is feeling everything and choosing to keep going anyway. It's waking up with the weight of your past on your chest and deciding to get out of bed. It's carrying grief and still finding moments of joy. It's knowing how dark the world can be and still choosing to believe in something better. Psychologists who study resilience have found something important: the strongest people aren't those who've never broken. They're the ones who've broken and learned how to put themselves back together. Sometimes imperfectly. Sometimes with pieces missing. But they rebuild nonetheless. You might have days where you feel overwhelmed. Days where the memories come rushing back. Days where you wonder if you're really as strong as people say you are. Those days don't invalidate your strength, they're part of it. Because strength is also admitting when you're struggling and asking for help when you need it. There's a concept in psychology called flexible resilience. It means that true strength isn't rigid, it bends. It adapts. It acknowledges difficulty rather than denying it. You don't have to pretend you're unbreakable. The fact that you can break and still choose to continue, that's what makes you rare. Your pain and your strength aren't opposites. They coexist. They inform each other. And together, they create something powerful: wisdom. The wisdom that only comes from struggle. There's a type of knowledge you can't get from books, degrees, or comfortable lives. It only comes from living through difficulty and emerging on the other side. If you've been through a lot, you possess this knowledge, whether you realize it or not. You understand impermanence in a way most people don't. You know that good times won't last forever, but neither will bad times. This makes you less likely to take things for granted and more capable of appreciating ordinary moments that others overlook. You've developed what's called emotional granularity, the ability to identify and understand complex emotions in yourself and others. When someone's going through something difficult, you don't just sympathize. You understand. You've been there. You speak the language of struggle, and that makes you invaluable to people who need genuine support. Research shows that people who've overcome adversity often become more compassionate, not less. You haven't hardened into bitterness, you've softened into understanding. You know how it feels to need help, so you're more likely to offer it. You know how it feels to be judged, so you're less likely to judge others. This wisdom also manifests in your decision-making. You've learned to trust your instincts because you've had to rely on them. You can sense when something's wrong. You recognize red flags earlier. You protect your energy more carefully because you know how precious it is. But perhaps most importantly, you've learned this: you're capable of more than you thought. You've surprised yourself with your own resilience. And that changes everything about how you approach future challenges. How to honor your strength. Now that you understand the rare strength you possess, the question becomes, what do you do with it? How do you honor it? How do you live in a way that acknowledges what you've survived without letting it define you? First, give yourself permission to rest. Strength doesn't mean constant motion. Some of the strongest things in nature, mountains, old trees, the earth itself, are defined by their stillness as much as their endurance. You don't have to prove your strength every single day. You've already proven it by surviving. Second, let your experiences inform you, not imprison you. Yes, you've been through difficult things. Yes, those things changed you. But you get to decide how they changed you. You get to take the lessons without carrying the burden forever. You get to heal while still honoring what you survived. Third, share your story when you're ready, not because you owe anyone an explanation, but because your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Your strength becomes even more powerful when it helps others recognize their own. There's a multiplying effect to resilience when it's shared. Fourth, seek support when you need it. Asking for help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Therapists, support groups, trusted friends, these aren't crutches for weak people. They're tools that strong people use to become even stronger. Even the mightiest structures need maintenance and reinforcement. Finally, recognize that your strength isn't just about what you've survived, it's about what you're building now. Every day you choose growth over bitterness, connection over isolation, hope over despair, you're exercising that rare strength. You're proving that difficulty doesn't destroy, it transforms. The truth about your rare strength. So here's what we've discovered: if you've been through a lot in your life, you possess a kind of strength that's genuinely rare. Not rare because it's superhuman or mystical, but rare because it's earned. It's built through experiences that most people will never face, refined through struggles that tested you in ways that can't be taught in any classroom. This strength lives in your nervous system, wired into the very structure of your brain. It shows up in how you handle crises, how you support others, how you persist when things get difficult. It's in the wisdom you carry, the empathy you've developed, and the quiet competence you demonstrate every single day. You might not feel strong. You might feel tired, broken, or barely holding on. But here's the truth: those feelings don't contradict your strength, they're part of it. Real strength acknowledges difficulty. It feels pain. It struggles. And it continues anyway. The world needs people like you. People who understand that life is hard and choose kindness anyway. People who've been broken and learned how to help others heal. People who know darkness exists but still reach for the light. Your struggles haven't just taken from you, they've also given you something irreplaceable. They've made you someone who can withstand storms that would capsize others. Someone who can find meaning in chaos. Someone who knows that surviving is itself a radical act of courage. So the next time you doubt yourself, remember this: you're still here. After everything you've been through, you're still here, still trying, still growing. That's not just strength. That's the rarest kind of strength there is. And it's yours. If this resonated with you, leave a comment sharing one thing you've survived that you're proud of, big or small. Let's build a community that recognizes and celebrates the strength in each other. And if you know someone who needs to hear this today, share this video with them. Sometimes we all need a reminder of just how strong we really are.